The most important thing about the slip cork, and the reason why it's so good, first of all, is the way it's built. The way it looks. It's less resistance on the water for the fish to pull down. You know, opposed to those big round bobbers. Takes so much to pull them down, it's really no resistance. So they really don't feel it, in other words. That's one of the main things. And then also, it's depth fishing. You know, a lot of times the fish aren't on the bottom or not on the top. So with the slip cork, you can change your depth all the way from, 2 feet all the way to 30 feet to find them, to locate. So basically what this is your indicator. This is going to either, when you get a bite, it's going to either go down or either lay flat. One of the two, to let you know you have a bite. As far as the slip cork, we have two different kinds. We have a 2-eye, and then we have a 1-eye. The 1-eye is just a little bit more sensitive. It's mainly used for crappie fishing. It reacts a little bit different in the water when you're jigging it with your jigs on. It's a better indicator than that 2-eye. The first one I'm going to show you today, I'm going to rig up the 1-eye first. The rigs are a little bit different, but somewhat similar. The most important thing you want to remember when you're rigging the slip cork up is to put your bobber stop first. And this is how you change your depth. This little thing here. Just slide that tube on your line. Get that string off the line like so. It's a little tough. You got some nails, you can kind of slide it off. The thing about it is it's already tied for you. You just take this little tube off now. Also, what's important is you want to make sure you have tension in your line whenever you pull these strings. The key to this knot is it's your depth. So you don't want it to move unless you move it. If it moves by itself, it's worthless. So you have to make sure you have that tension in your line when you're pulling that knot. Now all you do is tie a couple of more knots in the string. Grab the 2 strings and tie regular knots, it's fine. Just tie one, and then tie one more. And then what you want to do is you want to cut this excess string off, which we'll do that here soon. But right there is your depth knot. It moves up and down wherever you want. Next thing you put on is going to be your bead. And now this is going to allow that cork to stop when it hits that knot. It's this little bead. Stick this bead on. Okay. Now next you have, this is the tricky part, because with the 1-eye float, you are needing to use a swivel. Okay, so what you want to do now is you want to put this swivel on right after the bead. After that, you put some weight on. I normally use a little squeeze on weight. What that does is allow me to have at least a foot apart from my slip cork and my jig, because you don't want that slip cork riding down on that jig. So once you get that on there, you just open this clip, and I'll tell you another good thing about this 1-eye cork. It's a convenience. I'll show you as soon as I get it finished set up here. Stick that 1-eye on there. And the reason for the swivel is if you were to put this on direct through that eye, a lot of times casting it might get tangled up. But with that swivel, there's no way it's going to get tangled up. So that's one main reason for the swivel. Now, all you got left to do down here is tie you a jig on. And that's another good thing about the slip cork. The slip cork is universal. You can put anything down here. It doesn't matter if it's a jig, a minnow hook, a stink bait hook, whatever you want to use, a bass lure, whatever your choice. That slip cork will work for any kind of fishing. Tie this jig on here.
What kind of knot are you using on that jig?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never yet to ask my dad what this knot is, but I can tell you how I do it. What I do is I tie a regular knot first, okay? and then I go behind and I tie a knot here, just a regular knot. I grab my jig in this side and I pull till it reaches that other knot and it locks it. And he taught me that probably about 10 years ago, and I've been tying it that way ever since. Never had a problem with it coming off or anything.
Do you use that type of knot on bigger fish, catfish, and bass, and all that too?
I use it on all. The only thing I might do different is I might double it. Instead of just doing it once, I might double it a couple of times. Now, this was the other thing I wanted to tell you about the one-eye slip cork that makes it so convenient. Let's say you're fishing with the slip cork and you decide to leave and go to a dock or a smaller area that you want to jig up and down. Well, instead of just re-rigging your whole pole, all you have to do is clip this little thing right here, take this off, clip that back, and now you're able to jig up and down. No problem. None of this other stuff will affect you jigging up and down. Get tired of jigging up and down, want to go back to the float, just unclip this and put the float right back on.
That's awesome. And the jigs that they're using are the lightning strike jigs.
Yes, these are, they're hand tied. Yeah, we hand tie these. We've been tying them for about 15 years. We have a website. It's CarlJonesFamousJigs.com. We ship them all over the world. Like I said, of course, the 2-eye, it's a little different. It's not much difference, but I'll rig it up real quick. It's not much difference at all. You pretty much go about it the same way. You always put your bobber stop on first. Your bead always comes next. The only difference is this time you won't have a swivel. You're going to go direct through the eyes. You always go through the top eye first. Then once you go through the top, go through the bottom. And it's going to look just like this. Okay. Now what you do, you add a couple of beads, and the reason we put these beads on here, they're not just too important, but this bead prevents this sinker from beating up this eye and damaging this eye. So you put that bead there, then you put your sinker on, preferably a sliding sinker. And then you can either, or you have a choice. You can actually put you a swivel here, which like a lot of people do. You can put you a barrel swivel here. That way you can tie off one end to this end, and then you can have you some drop line on the other end. You don't want to put a snap swivel here. The reason is if you put a snap swivel here, this is going to slide down to the barrel side, and then you're going to have your hook here, and it's going to run too close. You don't want your float that close to your hook. You always want your float and your weight at least a foot apart from your whatever kind of hook you're using. So I don't have a barrel swivel handy, so what I'm going to do, this is the alternative, is behind that slip sinker I'm going to put a squeeze on, a split shot. That way it can slide down to that split shot and stop. And then you still, all you do next is just tie that hook on. I'll show you the way I tie that knot again. I just go through and tie a regular knot. Like I said, if you're doing catfish or something, you might double it a couple times, go through a few times like that, just to make it thicker. Okay, once you do that, you just go behind here and make a regular knot, just like so. Grab the jig and grab this side and just pull it too, just like that, and it locks it there, can't go nowhere. And that there is the 2-eye setup. The slip corks they're very amazing, one of the best rigs you can use today. Like I said, the main thing is they're universal. You can use them for any kind of fishing. Very good for depth fishing, that way you can get right on top of the